Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 53 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League podcast show. I'm your host, the self-proclaimed FPL guru, Alex Rex, and joining me today are my usual suspects. What looks like a blind Scott Williams in the corner. Right, Scott, you having to read what you're reading? Are you catching up on your notes already for the podcast?
Yeah, I've just got my notes on my screen at the minute, so yeah, I'm just reading them, making sure I'm good to go.
Yeah, there's so little amount of notes that you can barely read them by the looks of it. Leaning really close to the camera. And Barry Stokes. Barry, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. I thought Scott was redoing his eye test. I thought,
I need to after this week. Jesus.
So does Haaland after that finish. Let's not talk about our great captaincy pick there straight away. But thank you ever so much, everyone, for joining us. Don't forget to follow us on our socials, All in Football Pod, All in Football P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and also like and subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts from to the All in Football podcast. Right, I'm going to cover off some quick league admin. Congratulations to, if I can find him on the screen, Marco Marinelli for being manager of the week for game week 23. Triple captain played 112 points, did take a -4, but still the next best got 107 anyway. So well done to you, Marco. Triple captain played on Erling Haaland. You had Saka, Almiron, Rashford, De Bruyne, Ødegaard, Haaland, and Nketiah with Shaw, Stupinian, Trippier, and Pope. So well done to you for 112 points triple captain played. Quick shout out has to go to our favourite Hunjan who plays in the league, which is Dimple. She got 107 the week, so she was 1 point off after the -4. Again, she went for the triple captain on Bukayo Saka. So fair play to her there with 45 points. So that paid off really nicely with Martinelli, De Bruyne, Rashford, Haaland, Kane, Nonto, Shaw, Saliba, Trippier, and Pope as her team. Talking of Hunjans, manager of the week for game week 24 was our friend Sandeep, where pretty much everything went right, to be fair. Captain Marcus Rashford got it right, 2 goals against Leicester. That was the one of the big swings of the week with Haaland and Kane with 5 and 2 points. Saka, Matoma, Ødegaard, and Bruno Fernandes with his 2 assists and 3 bonus points. Stupinian, Shaw, Kilman, and Edison being the back line. So congratulations, Sandeep.
so don't praise him too much because he'll get swelled. So hopefully he's listening to this podcast outside, so he might get stuck in a room or something.
He's pulled it 15 points back on Cully. It's nice and tight at the top. 7 points in it at the top of the league between Cully and Sandeep, with Dan Clark in third place, a further 16 points adrift. And then I
don't know about you lads, but I hope none of those top 2 win.
Are we all cheering on Barry Stokes down here in 5th?
Yeah.
Rep the podcast, Batters. Come
Went for a cup last year. I'm going for the league this year.
It's a really sad.
I did the sprint last year. I'm doing marathon this time.
It's a really sad time when I'm cheering on someone else to win the league. It just makes me sad. We've got a Cinderella story up near the top though for potential manager of the month. Got one game week left of February. Sandeep's top. Only 9 points behind is Martin Wheel. Come on, Martin. Take it down.
Let's look at his benches.
Yeah.
We're going to have to look.
Click on him.
Do you want me to do it now? Right, okay.
Yes.
I'll do it. Fine. So well done, Martin, for your 24 points you left on the bench this week.
And he were lucky at that, wasn't he? Because he had Mahrez. Someone else was big on the bench, wasn't there?
Yeah. Who came off his bench for him? I can't remember who it was for Mahrez. Can't have got loads of points. I wouldn't have thought.
I'm guessing it was maybe Matoma. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe so. But 24 points there. And the week before was just the grand total of 17, 20, 26. So you've left 50 points on your bench game weeks, man. That's pretty impressive. Baz wanted me to give you some credit for picking the double Fulham defence, but the 16 points you would have got are both on your bench. So
also, that's an awful kit is designed now as well.
Oh, what is that?
That's disgusting, isn't it?
It feels weird. Well, I don't know what the red's about. I thought he was a Leeds fan.
Oh, it's like a hybrid Man U Brian fan there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit weird, isn't it, really? But well done, Martin, for being second so far in the February Manager of the Month. Gavin Webb just behind you, and Jeffrey Belcher, as always. Barry Stokes still in with a shot, very, very close to the top. And do you know what? I'm only 16 points off the top. That would be a Cinderella story for this game, for this season, wouldn't it?
I think that's the first time you've said that all season, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, it really, really is. Want to do a quick news flash on the updated fixtures, because even though that's the wrong screen, Alex, we've got some brand new news on the double game week front. So the fixtures have been announced for double game week 29, because they've announced them all already for the TV fixtures. Let me just click on this. There we go. So a couple of surprises. We've got no double game week in there for Manchester City or for Spurs, and we always knew there wasn't going to be a double game week for Arsenal. So that has thrown the cat amongst the pigeons in terms of if we're going to bench boost or not in game week 29. We're not going to talk about it loads this week. In fact, we're barely going to talk about it at all, because until the fixtures have been completed for the FA Cup games in this midweek coming, we won't know exactly who's going to blank in game week 28. Now, what we do know is that pretty much every fixture, other than potentially Southampton versus Tottenham, that gets cancelled in game week 28 will probably go into game week 34. So the only fixture that might get added to game week 29 here that we can see is a Spurs double game week for Spurs and Southampton double game week, because if they both get knocked out of the cup, then that will happen. So could happen. So both get knocked out, both get through in the cup, then that will happen. So yes, double game weeks for pretty much every other team. But let's wait and see what fixtures, what the results are from the FA Cup fixtures coming up, and then we can finally make a plan. But what I will say about game week 29, just as a quick hot take, is that I'm pretty comfortable with all of my single game week players that will be playing there anyway. So a bench boost is still very, very viable. But we'll look at that in a lot more detail next week, because we'll have a more complete picture. Any hot takes on it, Barry? I know we were discussing it on text.
I mean, you've covered it all, to be honest.
Yeah.
No point going into too much depth about it. We'll do that later in the next pod.
Absolutely. So let's have a look at this game week. So we've got 4 teams here with double game weeks this week in game week 25. And this is where we'll be looking to get the majority of our players from for this week. The teams which you can be looking at, especially if you don't have a free hit left, by the way, would be a team like Everton, because Everton and also Arsenal, because those are the teams that definitely play in game week 28 and also have a double game week in game week 25. So if you don't have a free hit left, those are the 2 teams to have a look at. The team with the best double game week is probably Arsenal, Leicester away, Everton at home. And then you've got Liverpool with Crystal Palace away and Wolves at home. Now, the majority of us have 3 Arsenal players anyway. Like, I think we all have 3 Arsenal on this pod. I've got Saka, Odegaard and White. Scotty?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I think I've still got Nketiah because I knew the double game week was coming up. Odegaard.
You got Saka. You got Saka in this week, didn't you? For Martinelli, or did you not do it? What did you do?
No, I got Trossard in.
I got Trossard. Yeah, you got Trossard. Who did get the start? Yeah, got the start.
Oh no, I don't have 3 Arsenal. I got João Felix in.
Well, to be fair for you this week, it's relatively easy then. You know, you're looking at triple Arsenal seems a relatively straightforward point, because they've got then Bournemouth at home, Fulham away, but then Crystal Palace at home. That's definitely going to happen in game week 28. And then they've got Leeds at home in game week 29. That's definitely going to happen. They're only going to have a single game week in game week 29, but it's a pretty good single fixture, even if you want to get rid of one of the Arsenal players and only have 2 left. So if you've got 2 Arsenal, it's one of the most straightforward things you ever have to think about. An Arsenal player is who you will bring in this week. Other than that, if you wanted to hedge your bets, we can obviously have a conversation about Everton in a bit, but I wanted to basically discuss Liverpool, because this seems to be where all the conversation seems to be about this week if you are going to get an Arsenal player. Scott, on that, so you've got Trossard and Nketiah?
No, I've got Trossard and Odegaard.
Trossard and Odegaard. I mean, if you can get to Saka this week, it's the easiest move in the world, because he's probably everyone's captain this week. I'd have thought it seems relatively straightforward on that point. Also, seems a good longer term move. If not, then your man Baz. I think Zinni's in. Probably seems like a good player you can have at the back if you've got one of the players who are blanking this week to take out. Maybe a Luke Shaw if you've got no value in him. Whatever. Any initial thoughts on that, Scott?
I'm sick of Saka, so I want to try and get him in because he's doing my head in. So yeah, probably him. I don't like Trossard now. I'm worried that Martinelli's going to start. You know, I think they might flip back to that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just petrified, to be quite frank. I need to get João Felix out my club and nowhere near it ever again.
It's a shame that really, because actually, when you look at Felix, not to linger on that point too much, but like he's got Spurs obviously not a great game this week, but then Leeds, Leicester, Everton, guaranteed double game week. So he plays in 28 guaranteed Everton at home. So double game week, double home fixtures against Villa and Liverpool, which aren't bad fixtures in game week 29, and then has good fixtures in 30 and 31. It's if you've brought him in, you commit to him for me. Felix, and you just run with him. But yeah, I nearly brought him in last week, and obviously I'm glad I didn't for last week. But still, I think he can still do well. I can't, Potter can't go on like the way it is forever. But Barry, your initial take on Liverpool assets? Talk to me. Who's tickling your fancy?
Well, I'm bringing in 2 this week.
Okay.
So I wanted to get rid of Patterson because Coleman scored and he's obviously injured and coming into fitness. But I'm going to gamble and I'm still going to keep him because I want to get rid of Mahrez and Mitro.
Okay, fine. So have you got 11 starters already for this game week? I
will be, yeah.
Fine.
Yes, and I was just getting some more players that are double game weeks, basically.
Sorry to clarify. So you've got 2 frees. So you're going to take a -4 and get rid of those 3 players.
I've got two. I'm keeping Patterson in.
Oh, you keep Patterson in. Sorry. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
So I'll keep him in. He might get like the odd 1 point. He might come on and get some minutes. But if he plays, great. If he doesn't, then it's just a 0. It's not going to affect too much, I don't think, because defenders' points now it's quite hard to come by. Whereas last season it was defenders all round. I think attacking options is where to go, and I think that's where I was going to go for Gakpo and Nunes. They were my 2 that I'm going to get in. But then that leads me to later on I'll have to use my free hit.
It's interesting that because Gakpo and Nunes are really, really popular at the moment with this game week. And with Jota, Firmino, and then potentially a future Diaz coming back, I feel like they are those 2 players as such are incredibly short-term transfers. Do you know what I mean? Like they are you are probably gonna wildcard in 27, free hit in 28, and bench boost in 29 sort of territory. I mean, it doesn't have to be that way, obviously, but I feel like those are the sorts of players that, even though Bournemouth away in 27 is good, but they play Man U at home in 26 and then probably blank in 28, and they have Man City away and Chelsea away as a double game week in 29, which is horrendous. It feels like they are properly attacking this game week because of the potential rotation risks moving forward. But there's no doubt they are the first choice starters at the moment, whilst the other ones are getting back fit. And I mean, they started last night, and did they both score last night? No, Salah scored, didn't he? He got the ball
Salah scored and Nunes scored.
Yeah, Salah scored because
Salah set up Nunes as well with a great finish. And you never really hear that with Nunes, a great finish, because he couldn't hit a barn door a couple of weeks back.
Yeah, but he has scored 2 and 2 now, hasn't he? Darwin. So he's not going to get dropped for these games, is he? Let's be honest, they're going to roll with him with those 2 games. I wouldn't have thought. And his expected points since the World Cup per 90 is top out of everybody's. For Liverpool, 8.1 points per 90 expected, which is pretty insane. Gakpo's next with 5.6, and then Salah with 5.3. But his actual points return off the 8.1 has been 3.6 per 90. So he's basically operating at 2.5 times where he should be. 2.5 times less than where he should be, I should say. So, yeah, interesting. In terms of expected goal involvement, as you can imagine, all those stats are really, really high for him compared to everybody else because he's top for expected points. So the ones that have been playing up at the top have been doing well. The other points per 90 situation we need to look at is randomly at the top of his, Joe Gomez. Points per 90 minutes he's played, and he's 396 minutes. He's averaged 5.4 points, which is weird. I think
he's getting dropped for Matip, to be completely honest with you. He was terrible last night.
He has to be. He's been terrible for ages, and he's got to go. If he turns his back on another shot, honestly, I'm going to go around to his house and tell him to face up to one. Jesus Christ. Mo Salah again, right up there. What's everyone's take on Salah? One of the questions that's come in this week is he back? Is he good?
I'm going to keep an eye on the City game tonight because that could be a move. I might be taking De Bruyne out against Salah in, if I'm honest. He's looking better from what I've seen. First half, he was brilliant yesterday. And then, just like the rest of the Liverpool team, he went off the boil second half. But he's looking more and more like his old self. He did a really good run in the first half, and he was just lacking the finish. He's getting there, and he's certainly someone that, if you're in my position or Alex's position, Salah for De Bruyne is certainly a play, I think, this week. I know Man City got Bournemouth away, which is a sexy little game, but I think I'm kind of looking at getting Salah in. I think.
Well, De Bruyne is not in the squad, is he? He's ill.
He's ill tonight, which is more worrying.
So, is he going to start against Bournemouth? Is he going to risk him against Bournemouth?
Yeah.
They've got the FA Cup as well midweek, haven't they? After. So probably, I don't know. You never know with Pep, do you? Let's all try to predict him and see what he's going to do.
Well, that's another point, isn't it? He's a rotation risk. And like you said, Gakpo and Nunes, I think any of them can get dropped for, a returning Jota or Firmino. Whereas you'd be shocked, wouldn't you, if Salah, and he's not looking too out of it now. If he gets dropped, I think that's your safe bet. I think a few weeks ago, going into this double game week for Liverpool, even though they weren't firing all cylinders, you were looking at maybe a Gakpo in that because there wasn't anyone else that could really come in with the injuries. But now I think it's too much risk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I don't disagree with you there, Scott. To be honest, I think for me, I've got De Bruyne, and I'm looking at taking him out for Salah this week. And then the other move might be I go maybe Kane or someone to Nunes, but I think that's just a really short-term transfer, to be honest. I know Kane has Chelsea, and Chelsea don't look very good at the moment. So I don't know. It's just it's really difficult because I'm really conscious to advise people here to not rip your teams up for the sake of one double game week for a Liverpool team that just got battered by Real Madrid, that beat 10-man Newcastle and definitely could have still conceded some goals, and then beat Everton 1-0. Like, was it 1-0 to beat Everton? I forget.
2-0.
Was it 2-0? And they beat, Everton, who are, maybe getting relegated this year. I don't think everyone needs to sort of lose their minds and try to twist everything to get Liverpool players in. I'm going to at least get one in.
I disagree. I think they should. I think everyone should just go mental and get Liverpool players in.
What do you think of Trent?
Get him in. Must play. No, he's actually looked good, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he's looked all right. I watched last night, and he was finding himself basically up front as usual.
Yeah.
I thought he looked okay. He's also right up there in terms of points achieved. He's third on points per 90 since the World Cup at 5 points per 90, and he's played a lot more minutes than Joe Gomez. So he's up there. Actual in terms of totals. Sorry, I'll put totals on there. He has got 3 assists since the World Cup. Salah's got 2 goals, 2 assists. He's got 3 assists. So as usual, he's top for assists. Darwin's up there with 2 assists, actually. To be fair to him, Robertson with 1, and then in terms of goals, Gakpo with 2, Salah with 2, and Darwin with 1. So we think those guys are going to be the starters, but it's having an exit strategy. You don't want to fully commit to these things because the other thing just to consider, by the way, importantly enough, Fulham play Liverpool in game week 28. Leeds play Fulham in the FA Cup between game weeks 25 and 26. If Leeds beat Fulham in the FA Cup, then Fulham obviously are eliminated from the FA Cup. and Liverpool then don't blank in game week 28. And that does make a difference to whether you might want a free hit or not, because it feels like the upside of free hitting in game week 28 is.
That was one of the reasons why I wanted to get 2 Liverpool in, just in case that happens.
Yeah, you're hedging your bets towards a Leeds win. You'll be cheering on Leeds against Fulham. Let's just put it that way in the FA Cup.
What I would say as well is they catch a clean sheet against Everton, they catch a clean sheet against Newcastle. Yeah, they conceded 5, but Real Madrid, they're all right, aren't they? To be fair, they're not a bad team.
I think
you've got
the midfield didn't really help, did it?
Yeah, and you've got 2 game weeks. What are you wanting from a defender? Minimum 6 points with a double game week, maybe 7 or 8.
I'd say 8.
Yeah. That's 1 clean sheet out of 2, and that's not including any bonus, any assist, anything like that. With a Trent, some of the balls he put in last night were fantastic. So there's always a chance of an assist now with Trent again. So I don't think you should overlook. Really don't think you should overlook a Liverpool defender.
And how Liverpool was playing the start of the season, Salah was playing a lot wide. He wasn't really coming inside as much. Now he's starting to come inside as much and get involved, and he's starting to score a bit more goals. And that gives Trent the option to go down line, or even cut in. So it's one of them where I think they're getting back to it. As we all know, Liverpool's midfield, central. It needs changing, but he can't do anything about it. So he's just going to rely on maybe getting the wingers inside, compact it, make it hard to get through. Because if you're keeping them wide, then it's quite difficult. It's easy for him to get through. So
I agree. The heat maps as well on the screen. I agree with what you're saying there, Baz. Like, there's minimal out here on the right hand side compared to this massive block here before the darker red, whereas now he's getting the ball a little bit more on the inside. This is pre and post World Cup. Weird gap in the middle that's very consistent on the edge of the penalty area, isn't there, for touches. But that's so you can see his 1-2s a lot here. But yeah, it feels to me in terms of the position that he's playing in that the move around has been quite noticeable. I actually really agree with you, Scott. If you're gonna, because you're, I don't know why I said it like I was surprised then, but you're with a Trent and Robertson, for example, you're also you've got longevity in those picks, whereas the Gakpo Darwin picks are a bit, whereas your Trent, Robertson, and Salah are going to be in pretty much definitely in all of these games. Now, don't get me wrong, Gakpo and Darwin might start all of the games. They definitely, I think they'll start both of these games. I think that'll be the team that they play. And I also think that they'll probably start, like maybe against United, pending a Jota or maybe a Firmino, maybe one of them getting rotated. But yeah, I agree with you. I think if I could afford to go Trent and Salah, I would.
Oh yeah, too right. I would. That's the only reason why I'm saying them too, because they were too I could afford.
But I just don't think I could afford to do it. One thing as well to discuss, a point that's come up a lot online is which players to take out who blank this week, for an example. And just a thought that to leave in your mind is that if you are looking at a wild card in game week 27, for an example, that you should, a lot of people are saying, oh, maybe take out Trippier. Newcastle haven't been looking anywhere near as good. And then they come back with City away. It doesn't look amazing. Wolves at home, is that a really easy get? I don't know. But they were saying City away basically is a tough game. And then people might look at wildcarding in 27, maybe even bringing Newcastle players back. Just bear in mind that you might have a lot of value in Trippier. And that value can come in handy when you look doing your wildcard. So if you're looking at a decision, because a lot of people are looking at a decision between taking out Shaw or Trippier this week, 100% is Luke Shaw if you're going to do it, because Luke Shaw, they have Liverpool away when they come back, which is a tough game. They're almost certain to blank in game week 28, Man United. So in terms of hedging your bets, because they play Brighton, and both Brighton and Man United are both still in the FA Cup. So it would take 2 big losses for Shaw to play in game week 28. Whereas Trippier definitely plays in 28 and definitely doubles in 29. So yeah, I get it. Shaw's in better form than Trippier at this very moment in time, but you'll have more value in Trippier. They've both got rubbish They're both blank in 25. They've got rubbish fixtures in 26. And then you can regroup in 27 when you've got all the information, because you might want to then wildcard Trippier out if you want to. That's up to you to do that, but at least you'll have got that value locked up in him. So just there's been a big debate about that online. It's for me, it's an absolute keep Trippier over Shaw. The other players, and also the other thing is Bruno Guimaraes is back. Devastated, by the way, that for the game that Pope's decided that he was going to play rugby against Liverpool. It's just such a shame. I wanted to see the best players play. And then everyone was moaning. So like, oh no, Pope's not going to play. It's not fair. He should be allowed to play. We should have the best teams play each other. Well, Bruno Guimaraes got sent off in the semi-final, and I'd much rather he didn't play than Pope, because they've not won a match without Bruno, have they?
I think the whole thing is ridiculous. It's a different competition. I don't think you should be I don't think anyone should be banned, to be completely honest with you.
Well, Bruno got sent off in the semi-final of the Carabao Cup.
Yeah. Like that's different. I think he potentially should be banned then for the next game of the Carabao Cup.
Yeah, it's one thing or the other, isn't it?
Yeah. Like I think he should be, rather than in the league. The league and the Carabao Cup are two different competitions, if you didn't know.
Isn't it mad that if he'd have got like 2 yellows, he wouldn't have been banned though, or whatever? Was it 2 yellows, or if he'd have got like a yellow card, which would have meant he'd have got his 10th yellow card of the season, he'd have just got banned for the next league game, but not the cup. Though.
Yeah, that was Joe Linton was on that, wasn't he?
What's that about?
Yeah, needs to be more clarity on that for me.
Just an absolute...
Anyway, the Bravner's waiting, cheering Man United on, so he gets a medal, doesn't he?
How ridiculous is that? And then Karius will be in goal for Newcastle.
That's got banter written all over it, hasn't it?
I mean, I know we're the favourites for the game, but it would hurt me even more if we lost to them with Karius in goal. I don't know why. Just like, nothing against him, but feels like we should be winning that match.
Cully will be having hot sweats watching that.
Remember the days. Everton chat, lads. We can cover this off relatively quickly. Relatively quickly.
So most of my points came from this week, Everton.
Talk to us about Everton under Dyche, Scott.
Yes, exactly. I think what we expected. He's shored them up. He's made them really solid at the back. They've got a set purpose, not necessarily the prettiest football, but it's Dyche ball. It's something we all knew that was going to happen. And it's the reason I went in for an Everton defender last week, especially with a double game week coming up. You're definitely not looking at the attack for Everton, 100% not. But I think there's certainly Mikolenko. I think Baz maybe mentioned him last week as someone to look at. I think he is the one for me that you should be having a look at personally. Maybe a Coleman as well, but like Baz mentioned earlier, does he get rotated out for Patterson? I think there's a little bit of value there to be had in the defense.
Well, both the goals will come from defenders, aren't they?
Yeah. I think if I had to go for a midfield, I probably wouldn't go for any Everton anyway. But I'd say McNeil or Iwobi. It's probably the only two you'd probably look at. Everton, obviously defence or keeper. I think same with Wolves, really. Defence or keeper.
Yeah, it's
no one really else.
No, I mean, and like I say, Coleman's, he'll surely keep his place at the moment, but 4.4. Tarko's 4.3 he went up from 4.2. Pickford's 4.4. Those are the guys that you're going to be looking at from an Everton perspective, because also they're fantastic enablers and how cheap they are to be able to get other players in. Now they won't double in game week 29, but at the same time as not doubling in game week 29, they will definitely play in game week 28. I know it's away to Chelsea, but that's an easy game at the moment, isn't it?
And plus, if you've still got Almer on, you could put like one of the two Everton midfielders I mentioned there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if you wanted to.
If you've got gambling problems, and
probably, but
I think you seem to be pushing the Everton midfielder narrative here, Baz. You're really like half pushing it.
We'll see, won't we?
Wolves. I know you talked about them as a team before, Baz, and we've got defenders Defenders at the top of points scored near enough. Jose Sarr top of points scored with 31 points since the World Cup. Then it's Kilman at 4.4 mil with 28 points. Semedo. It's Neves in midfield, 5.4 mil. Is he due a worldie, or was that a worldie, the one he scored? He's probably due. He had a worldie this month, I don't think, yeah. So usually that's how he rolls.
He takes penalties as well, doesn't he? So
yeah. And Craig Dawson's got one goal as well at 4.8. I'd stay away from that left back position. Everyone keeps talking about Aït-Nouri and Bueno, but they seem to be being rotated about a little bit. But Semedo seems pretty nailed. I brought Kilman in, as I said on the pod last week. Pretty gutted not to get a clean sheet out of him this week. But Baz, your shout on defender. Which one would you go for this week?
You've just said left back, but I'll probably go for Bueno.
Oh, quit.
I just because it's cheap, and obviously if I was getting rid of Patterson, that's who I'd bring in.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's my opinion on it, because it's cheap. He looks good. He looks better than Aït-Nouri. The problem is they're too erratic. They're not constant. It's all of it or none of it. And it's like you can't have that as for attacking returns anyway for a wing back.
No.
That's who I would pick. And
it's for me. I mean, the players that have played every minute so far are Neves, Kilman, and Sarr. So I mean, I wouldn't be putting a 5 million Wolves goalkeeper in. So I think if I had a gambling problem in terms of midfielder, it'd be Neves, and then it would be Kilman as a defender for me at 4.4. I mean, I'm only saying that because I did it. So I think that's the.
They've only kept 2 clean sheets since the World Cup. I don't know why we're even talking about it, to be honest with you. I know why we're talking about it, but I don't think it's something we should... Wolves feel like they should have a decent defence just because they're boring going up front. Similar to like an Everton, innit? You feel like, you're crap up front, you should be all right at the back, but they're not really, are they? I mean, they kept a clean sheet against Liverpool, but I think the 5-a-side football team I play in could have done that at the minute. So...
Well, Fulham away, Liverpool away, and then they've got Spurs and Newcastle. So, what a horrible set of fixtures. And if Leeds beat Fulham, then they blank. So, at the end of the day, they're probably a no-go in terms of invest. But we've done the duty. We've covered them. We've talked about them. We've tried to do a nice thing. So,
all them Wolves fans that listen.
Oh, no, honestly, all them bloody Wolves fans that, definitely don't listen to this podcast. So, Barry, should we talk about your team? Talk about your 11 that you've done for this game week, for double game week 25?
Yeah. So, I've gone for Jose Sarr in goal.
Just after I said that. Oh, this is brilliant. Go on. Carry on.
Double Wolves defence.
Double Wolves defence.
So I've gone for...
Go on.
No, I haven't gone double Wolves defence. Don't worry. I haven't done that. So I've got Sarr, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Zinchenko, Walker, Saka, Odegaard, Iwobi, Salah, Nunez, Haaland, and Watkins. I've got him in.
Good old Ollie Watkins.
Great finish again.
He looks really good, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He's definitely a form player.
He's gone down in my estimation a lot, though. He's only looking better now. He's not got any pressure on him. Clearly doesn't like pressure. I don't respect him anymore.
He's weak. He's absolutely weak.
Weak mentality.
He's
if he whips out the Rashford or the Ruminevs celebration, I'll be fuming.
Yeah, I was thinking about that recently. I was like, I absolutely love Rashford's celebration because of what he has been through of playing rubbish and now being absolutely incredible again. But you have to be a bit of a world beater to walk up to the crowd and just be like, look, I'm super clever. I've got a great mindset. But yeah, Watkins, the third most informed player in the league behind Kelechi. Probably should have scored at the weekend. David De Gea had done his best Gordon Banks.
Yeah.
David did keepers in that one as well. Estupinian still delivering some points. Any thoughts on Baz's 11, Scott? If you did you listen? Did you have a look at it when it was put up?
He probably switched off when I said Sarr in goal. Probably.
Yeah, I did. I was away then, and I woke back up for Watkins. I mean, it's solid enough, isn't it?
when you look at other players, I know we discussed this before. I think I'd love like Jared Bowen in there this week. If I was able to get another player in, for the team selected by, let's just do this way. I think Bowen's still under I'm assuming Bowen's still under 5%. Yeah, 2.8%. That'd be my pick of a differential for the week. Scotty, your pick for differential of the week?
Make a link out.
Like it.
Keep pushing him, even though you said you named 3 defenders and didn't name him. So it makes me feel a bit silly, but
no, 0.9% owned.
Yeah, he's going to score and get an assist and the clean sheet this double game week.
Oh, Barry, your choice of defender.
And strangely enough, he's not in my 11 again. Like I him 2 already. Gakpo, 4.5% owned.
Okay, brilliant. Baz puts an 11 out every week and doesn't put his own differential in. We say put a couple of differentials in and he doesn't put his own.
I've got Walker's in there at 4.5%. Awobu, 1.6. Watkins was 4.4 when I did it. He's now 5.1%.
Yeah.
Well,
Watkins is definitely looking like somebody who's we're going to invest in moving forward. His fixtures after including this week: Everton away, Palace at home, West Ham away, Bournemouth at home, all guaranteed to happen. Then a double game week against Chelsea and Leicester, followed by Forest at home, Newcastle and Brentford. We guarantee game week 32 against Brentford, Fulham, and then game week 34. Which will be against Man United away. So not the ideal player for that. But let's have a look at the fixtures for this week and have a discussion on captains. Friday deadline this week. So it's on my mum's birthday. Happy birthday, Mum. On that day, it's a 6:30 deadline for the greatest Friday night game on Sky Sports, Fulham against Wolves. That I don't know. Will you be watching that one, Scott?
Yep.
So there's no early kickoff on Saturday. We've got Everton Villa.
Oh, good, because I'm working again. I was a boring one, wasn't it, this Saturday?
Yeah, rubbish game. Did Arsenal, in everyone's opinion, did Arsenal get a little bit of luck back? Because when Jorginho hit that ball, was his vision blocked, Martinez's, by 2 offside Arsenal players? Thoughts? That was being thrown around. No. To be fair, I'm not bothered for it either. Pretty sure he could have seen through it, but
I don't think that was the worst decision, shall we say, over the weekend.
Oh, of course. What's the worst decision of the weekend, Baz?
Sabitzer.
We've me and Barry agreed to disagree on this one, but apparently I disagree with everyone, I think, on it.
No, I agree with you. If I was to do that around my own face at this speed, that's not really anything. But if you do it in slow motion, it looks horrendous.
Thanks for the example, Scott. You just hit yourself on the face.
I love the sound effects as well.
Yeah, I thought like Eric Cantona talking about trawlers. Then I don't know what I was on about.
No, Baz, talk us through why it was such a bad decision, and I think your mic, you need to lift it a little bit further up to your mouth, I think.
It was a high tackle. For me, it was fortunate it was a high tackle, because if it wasn't a high tackle and it was a bit lower, it could have broke his leg, because his foot was on the floor, his studs were in the ground. That could easily be a leg breaking challenge. I don't care if there's not enough force in it, but he's gone sideways on it. He's looked to do man. I agree with what Graham Souness was saying. I think it's just a coward way of doing it. If he was looking to play the ball, I think he's trying to flick it away. But because he's gone with his foot sideways on instead of like front to flick it away, I think he's gone to do him. And
if you think he's gone to do it, then it's a red card, isn't it? That's it's fair enough. I just think that you can see the way the height that the ball's bouncing up that's the height of his foot's going to go in at. He's backed out of the tackle and he's basically kicked his knee rather than going through with any like tackling force. He's like tried to play the ball and he's just kicked the knee. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely a yellow card. And actually, if the ref had sent him off, and it had gone to VAR, we'd have had no complaints because you can't really overturn that if that's the referee's take on field. I would have got it. I'd have think he was just unlucky because I think he's tried to play the ball then backed out of it, and he can. But that's my. I think the ref got it wrong. She should have yellow carded him, and I think VAR got it right because I don't think it was a red. But that's my take. Scott, do you want to hit yourself in the face again, or do you want to notate?
Yeah, I agree with the fact that it's whatever the ref says it is.
But as we talk, it's the perceptions of people, and obviously, I think it's a red. You two think it's a yellow.
If he was coming in with more pace, and then it would 100%. Absolutely be a red.
If he was out of control, obviously it's a red. Definitely.
I don't think it was that one, but
no. If he's out of control, then but I think he just kicked him. To be honest, but
he's kicked him high.
Yeah, well, that's where the ball's bounced into. That's why.
But he's kicked him high. He's late. High tackle, late, red.
Get on with it.
I think we're analysing this too much, but
fair enough. Hey, well, listen, it's a debating point of the weekend. To be fair, it's probably the only one that really was a proper debate anyway. Then you've got Bournemouth, Man City, Palace, Liverpool, Spurs, Chelsea, Arsenal, Everton, and then Liverpool, Wolves. All the double game week fixtures happen on 1st of March. Captains, lads, we've got teams in the double game week this week. We've got Arsenal playing Everton and Leicester. We've got Liverpool playing Palace and Wolves. And you're not captaining Everton or a Wolves player. So, or you've got the other softest fixture, City away at Bournemouth, where they lost 9-0 to Liverpool earlier in the season. Thoughts on captain Scott?
If I bring him in, I'm going to go Mohamed.
Yeah.
Because I'm not bringing him in. I might as well captain him if I bring him in. I'm trying to catch up. It's definitely a game week where he can score against Palace. He can certainly score at home to Wolves. Don't get me wrong, that Arsenal, that Everton at home doesn't look as good as it would have done a couple of weeks ago, but it still looks really good. A leaky Leicester does look like a nice fixture, but I don't think it's jumping out at me as much as it would. If Arsenal were at home to Leicester as well, I think that'd have been silly. But yeah, I think if I'm bringing him Salah in, I'm going to stick the captain's armband on him.
Brilliant. Baz?
Saka or Nunes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which one?
Because I'm quite close to the top, I'm just going to play safe and say Saka. But if I was in your two positions, I would go Nunes.
Fair play. Yes, Saka for me at the moment. That's my captain right now. If I do bring Salah in, though, I will have that debate, Scott, as well, myself. I think Saka's, like you say, Saka's probably the right captain for the game week, but Salah's the one with the highest upside to be able to hopefully catch up.
It's not a crazy difference, is it?
No. Well, but this is the thing this week with what happened with Rashford and Haaland.
Yeah.
Like this was the game week where people were probably not going to go for Haaland. They were probably going to go for Rashford. Rashford might have had his minutes managed. It was a good opportunity to go against what everyone was going to do. And every time I've done that this season, even now when I've gone with Haaland against what everyone else was going to do, it's not worked. And he's missed an open net. It's just, yeah. If there's anything summed up my captaincy picks this season, it was Haaland banging it over the crossbar from 2 yards out.
I like to watch my captain as well. And none of them Arsenal's on TV either.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point, actually. And also, I don't blame anyone if they wanted to go Haaland because they're going to be a differential and they are playing Bournemouth. But it is going to be an Arsenal or a Liverpool player, isn't it? Really, and Arsenal are top of the league and the best team in the league. So Saka seems to be the one. One other question I had that came in on socials was transfer planning apps on your phone, or do you just use web-based ones? Just so you know, for that, because it was quite a good question, because a lot of people just use their mobile devices. There's loads of apps, FPL apps. So FPL Team that I use on here is an app as well. You can use that as an application, and you can also do that with Fantasy Stats and Fantasy Analyzer. But the FPL Teams application is probably the best one to use, but there's loads of them. So, but that's what I use, and I think it's really good and really handy. Right, lads, that's about it, I think. Don't forget the deadline though, Friday 6:30, and then we'll be doing a much more comprehensive podcast next week because we'll have the results of all of the FA Cup games in, and the double game week will be done, and we will know exactly who blanks in game week 28. We'll know exactly who doubles in game week 29. And we'll also know all the fixtures that are yet to be arranged that probably then need to go into game weeks 34 and 37. So you'll be able to put your chip strategy together from next week. I would suggest don't go too heavy on Liverpool this week. I'd suggest don't go anyone involved. Don't go too heavy on Liverpool this week. And don't
go double Wolves defense. Get them in.
Yeah, yes. And don't sell all your players that you've got loads of value in from teams like Man United and Newcastle. So Trippier and Rashford in particular, they're you two to keep hold of hot takes. Lads, thanks very much for joining me.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Scott, it's so dark.
I've not got a light bulb in here.
Have you not? Oh, okay.
No. Cost of living.
Yeah, fair enough. Thanks, boys. Yeah, thanks for joining us. And don't forget Friday deadline. We will catch you all again next week. Bye for now.